Alright, so in this video, we're going to be multiplying polynomials, and we're going to be using the box method, which we should already be familiar with. So in the first one, I have 7x minus 3 times 2x minus 3. So I'm going to go ahead and start this by setting up a box here, a 2 by 2 box, because I have a binomial times a binomial, and I'll put 7x minus 3 on one side, and then 2x minus 3 on the other side. And so then once we draw our box, I'm just going to go ahead and multiply things together. So 7x times 2x, that will give me 14 because I'll multiply 7 and 2 first. And then x times x will give me x squared. So 14x squared. Then I will have 2x times negative 3, which will give me a negative 6x. 7x times negative 3, which will give me a negative 21x. And then lastly, negative 3 times negative 3, a positive, or negative times a negative will give me a positive, so that will give me 9. And then I'm just going to go ahead and combine like terms. And in this case, my like terms will be diagonal from each other here. So I'm going to combine my negative 21x with my 6x. So first, like all polynomials in standard form, I'm going to write it from highest exponential power to lowest. So it'll be 14x squared. And then, like we said, negative 21x, combine that with negative 6x. That will give me a negative 27x. And then lastly, I have my 9, so plus 9. So multiplying that together, I go ahead and get 14x squared minus 27x plus 9. Moving on to our next example, it's going to be pretty similar, but this time we notice it's 6x plus 4 times x squared plus 5x minus 8. So here we have a binomial that's being multiplied by a trinomial. So instead of doing a 2 by 2 box, I'm going to be drawing a 2 by 3 box. So, oops, I'll set it up like this. So that's my 2, and then 1, 2, 3 boxes here. So on my 2 side, I'll put my 6x and my plus 4. And then on my 3 side, I will have x squared plus 5x minus 8. So then, just like I did in my previous example, I'm going to go ahead and multiply things together. So 6x times x squared, I'm going to go ahead and apply my exponent rules. That will give me 6x to the power of 3. Then 4 times x squared will give me 4x squared. 6x times 5x, that will give me 30. And then x squared. 5x times 4 will give me 20x. Negative 8 times 6x, that will give me negative 48x. And then negative 8 times 4 will give me a negative 32. So just like the previous example, we will go ahead and combine like terms. They're still going to be diagonal from each other here, but now this time I will be combining my 4x squared and my 30x squared, those two diagonal, and then my negative 48x and my 20x, which are also diagonal from each other. So again, from highest power to lowest power, I'll start with my 6x cubed. Then 30x squared plus 4x squared, that will give me 34x squared. Then negative 48x plus 20x, that will give me a negative 28x. And then lastly, I'll have my minus 32. So this will be my whole entire final answer written out in standard form. All right, for our last examples, we have a monomial times a binomial and a monomial times a trinomial. And here we could go ahead and use a box. In this case, it would be a 1 by 2 box, or in the other question, be a 1 by 3 box. But in these cases, I do find it would be easier just to go ahead and distribute. So I'm going to take this 4n cubed, multiply that by 6n. So that would give me 24n to the power of 4, because again, exponent rules. And then 4n cubed times negative 3 this time would give me a negative 12n cubed. So those ones work a little bit quicker, a little bit less setup, just distributing the number to both the numbers there. And then we get to this last one. Again, same thought process here. This time I'm going to have 5n and multiply it by everything, each one of our terms of my trinomial. So 5n times n squared will give me 5n cubed. 5n times 2n will give me 10n squared. And then 5n times negative 5 will give me negative 25n. And that will be my answer for my fourth example. So again, if we have a binomial times a binomial, or if we have a binomial times a trinomial, what we want to go ahead and do is set up our box method and then go ahead and combine like terms. Or if we have a monomial times a binomial or a monomial times a trinomial, then we can go ahead and distribute. Or again, just going to set this one up really quickly. We could do a 1x2 or a 1x3 box, which would give us the same answer. So it would look something like this if we decided to go that route. Again, it would give us the same answer when we go ahead and multiply everything out.